was my bad. I accidentally left the loop on. What's going on, people? Happy Friday. Let's get the music going. It's last Friday of 2024, because next Friday will be in 2025. Funny how that works, right? Time. What a concept. What a lovely, lovely concept. It is indeed the last Friday of 2024. Anything interesting happened today? Anything Batman relate happened today? I feel like there might have been something that happened today, right? We'll get into it. If I had any booze, I would pour one out for the Batman Part 2. It got delayed again, but we'll dive into that later. Even though it is depressing to think about. Hope everyone had a good Christmas, though. Did y'all see the Christmas hat in the thumbnail? That was cool, right? Threw that together hell fast last night. But Christmas was cool. Hope everyone had a good Christmas. You know, I actually just spent like an hour or so building Legos with my nephew. Built the animated series Batmobile. That was a lot of fun. Had fun doing that. And I just ate a bunch of garbage food, so if I'm gastrous, that would explain why. Got my Starbucks. Let's go ahead and bring 2024 to an end, shall we? All right, so yeah, we're going to talk about the Batman. We're going to talk about whatever Tony Vincent Quera said about those Sony Marvel movies. We'll talk about some other shit for sure. We're going to talk a little bit about Andy Muschietti, talking about how his film's not happening anytime soon, and, well, a whole bunch of other different shit. But first and foremost, there's something I'm going to get out of the way that I always get out of the way. And I have gotten out of the way the last 5 weeks. Skeleton Crew episode 5. So I am currently writing reviews for this on Multiverse of Color, and yeah, another great episode, another fun episode. I will say that, like, at the end, spoilers, this is a fucking spoiler conversation at this point. If you haven't seen the episode, that's not my fault, not my problem, but you've been given fair warning. Spoiler moratorium. Boom. 3, 2, 1. Okay, the ending where Jod turns on the kids, I was like, saw that coming. Wasn't sure when it was going to happen, but I knew immediately. I was like, oh, this kind of story, you've got a pirate who's going to swindle these kids at some point down the line. I was like, yeah, this is going to happen soon. Wasn't sure how soon, but when it happened in episode 5, I was like, there it is. Totally pulls one over on the kids and is just like, I guess I'm the captain now. But the production value of this episode was pretty cool. They go to these, like, this resort area planet. It's got a bunch of mud baths. You see a hut. You see Mrs. Kettleman from Breaking Bad. The Breaking Bad spinoff, Better Call Saul. She was in it. That was great. You get a bunch of bounty hunters who die in an acid pool. That was great too, even though it happened off screen, but still, like, hearing them scream, that was funny. I did like that they had, like, they finally revealed the name of the ship. It's got a pretty cool name, the Onyx Cinder. It's not quite the Millennium Falcon, but it'll suffice, to say the least. I liked how SM-33 showed them the way to the pirate lair of Tak Renaud, I think the pirate's name was. I don't know. But all that was super cool. And then Wim finds a lightsaber and is just like, look what I got! And totally ignites it the wrong way. that got a pretty solid laugh out of me. I like that. That was pretty funny. I did laugh quite a fair bit at that. That was pretty funny. But then when Jod, like, when he gets the coordinates to Ad-Atten and you get the reveal of, like, Ad-Atten has, like, a mint that can make infinite credits, it's like Jod immediately was just like, oh, okay, I know what I got to do now. And in typical pirate fashion, he turns on the crew and straight challenges Fern for code of the captain. And I was just like, oh man, this is not going to end well for those kids, bro. And he just totally holds the knife up to her and, oh, well, you know, I'm sorry, I didn't really mean for it to come to this bullshit. Yeah, you did. Otherwise, you wouldn't have done it, you bastard. But then his first act as captain is like, hey, SM-33, take these kids prisoner, throw them in the brig. And it's just like, Oh, what? That is wild. But of course, Goonies back, they escape, and they promptly escape, and then Jod takes the lightsaber and fucking ignites it, and then cut to black. This episode was directed by Jake Schreier, who is directing the upcoming Marvel movie Thunderbolts Asterix. I enjoyed myself. I had a good time with this episode. Little by the books, a little bit. Again, like the Amblin Entertainment influences are seriously just so strong with this series. I'm not going to say it's not funny. It's actually pretty cool, but like, I'm digging it. I am digging Skeleton Crew. My only gripe, I think, at this point is like, I want to see a little bit more of the parents, because it's just like, oh, we touch base with them in the beginning of each episode after the second or third episode, and then we've just kind of gone off to deal with the rest of the adventure. And I'm just like, well, the fuck are the parents doing on AT-AT? And that's just got them just slugging along with trying to find their kids. I don't know. It's probably just coming down to like an execution thing. I'm not really sure, but like, I really would like some more context on what the parents are up to on AT-AT. That'd be nice. But other than that, it's a fun time. Fun time. Oh, I totally forgot. I've got a whole fucking chat full of people here. Let me see who's in the chat. Braden, what's up, dude? I will hate the whole narrative of the Batman being combined in the DCU, which would make no sense because James Gunn has said he's all in for Elseworlds. I agree completely. And I already hate that we will have to wait 2 more years before we get to the Batman Part 2, but I know Matt Reeves has to cook. Let him cook. Again, I agree. I will touch base on that later on, for sure. Last Friday of 2024, we got my bro Nerd Cosa Nostra. What's going on, dude? 2025 will be a great year. I wish I can wake up and it be 2026 already, so I can say no more year before the Batman Part 2. Happy holidays. We'll be back soon eating dinner. Hey, take your time, Daryl. Thanks for stopping in, bro. When people say general audiences will be confused, there are 2 different Batman. They're basically saying the general audience is stupid. Well, the people who say that are stupid, because we already had the Batman in 2022 and the Flash in 2023 with 3 different Batmans in it. So yes, I think the audience is not stupid. Fans are stupid. You didn't like Acolyte? No, I love the Acolyte. I'm not one of those people who hopped on the hate train. That show was amazing and it deserved a second season. Means more than you like this one. If so, hope it's a hit for Disney Plus. Feels like it's a hit for Disney Plus. Oh snap, my boy Ronan's in the chat. What's up, dude? I got my package of Absolute Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman. Funny you mentioned that. Can't really see that, although there we go. Absolute Batman, number 3. Still need to read it. Totally my fault, but I still need to read that shit. Good book so far, though. Digging it. Forgot to change my lights to red. I haven't read issue 3. I've read the other ones, though. I've read issue 1 of Absolute Superman, Absolute Wonder Woman. Those were great, and Absolute Batman is a monthly get for me. So, yeah. But going back to Skeleton Crew, I quite enjoyed that. That was a good time. It was definitely a good time. Oh, Braden says, I'm not a Star Wars fan, but I absolutely hate Star Wars fans. You know which ones I'm talking about. Me too. I don't like the loud idiots who constantly cry and bitch about Star Wars being woke. That's dumb. I don't like how people like Star Wars Theory and Nerdrotic are basically angry man children, and their hate gets so much like. But then again, hate sells. That's the unfortunate truth. That's why some people, even like some of my old co-hosts, continue to hop on hate trains because they know it will sell. I won't specify who, but if you know me and you know the shows I've been on, you can probably guess which people I'm talking about. They may or may not be making a comic book. It doesn't look that great either. Anyway. You know what does look great? You know what sounds great? Christopher Nolan's next movie is The Odyssey. Now, this one kind of caught everyone by surprise. This caught me by surprise. That's for damn sure. I don't know. I don't think basically anyone who was trying to figure out what the fuck he was doing, I don't think The Odyssey was on anyone's bingo card for Christopher Nolan's next movie. But let's go ahead and break this shit down from the Hollywood Reporter. Share screen. Here we are. All right. Next movie revealed is the Odyssey, 2026 release date from Universal. Speculation over Christopher Nolan's next movie has come to an end. Universal revealed Monday that Nolan will adapt the Odyssey, the epic poem from Homer that follows Odysseus' journey home after the Trojan War. Excuse me. Christopher Nolan's next film, The Odyssey, is a mythic action epic shot across the world using brand new IMAX film technology. This film brings Homer's foundational saga to IMAX film screens for the first time and opens in theaters everywhere on July 17th, 2026. Matt Damon, Tom Holland, Zendaya, Robert Pattinson, Lupita Nyong'o, Anne Hathaway, as well as Charlize Theron star in the feature. Nolan has delved with period pieces before, including Best Picture winner Oppenheimer, which told the story of the creation of the atom bomb, The Prestige, an adaptation of Christopher Priest's novel centering on two rival magicians amid the backdrop of the 1890s London. The Odyssey is a marked change of pace for the filmmaker. Homer's epic poem dates back to the 8th century BC, tells of gods, goddesses, and monsters, the type of material foreign to Nolan's work so far. Still, the filmmaker has dealt with plenty of fantastical material, including making Batman believable for post 9/11 audiences and bringing realism to sci-fi notions such as Inception, as well as the intergalactic travel in Interstellar. The epic poem has been adapted multiple times, including the Kirk Douglas-starred Ulysses, released in 1954. It also has inspired other films, including the Coen brothers' Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?, released in the year 2000. The story of the Trojan War made it to the screen with Troy. The 2004 movie also stars Brad Pitt as Achilles and features Sean Bean as Odysseus. According to Troy director Wolfgang Peterson, Nolan himself was in the running for that movie back before he made Batman Begins. Nolan began his year winning his first Oscar in his decade-long career thanks to Oppenheimer, which netted him statuses for Best Picture as well as Best Director. Nolan ended it with another honor, officially being knighted by King Charles in a ceremony last week. That's right, he did get knighted. I did see that. Okay. So, that's cool. Christopher Nolan is making a movie based on the Odyssey. That's going to be interesting. It's probably going to be the most fantastical movie he's made to date, if I had to guess. If he goes full hog with including gods and characters from mythology like Achilles and shit like that. But I think the story of Odysseus takes place over the course of like a decade. I don't really know. It's been a hot minute since I've read that story. Like since high school. Did I even read it in high school? I don't remember if I read it in high school or not. Anyway, that movie will surely be an epic of seismic proportions. I don't doubt one bit. Not one bit. You know what else was also kind of seismic? The amount of money Arnold Schwarzenegger was paid to play Mr. Freeze. $30 million. Oh my God. I'm not going to read this whole quote here, but this is what I dug up from Screen because this came across my way. But this one was just too funny not to share. Apparently last year in an interview with the Hollywood Reporter, Schwarzenegger talked about his acting history and his rise in the industry, discussing the financial changes his pay underwent during this time as well. The actor and now former governor of California stated that, quote, "It was Batman and Robin where they gave me over $30 million. I became the highest paid entertainer in the history of Hollywood." As Schwarzenegger himself says, this was a considerable sum at the time and remains as such to this day, even though other actors have netted themselves higher pay over the years. This is actually more than it previously appeared. Schwarzenegger made for his role as Mr. Freeze in Batman and Robin, as prior reports suggest he had earned $25 million for playing the character instead, which may have possibly been reflective of numbers before the final sum, or theoretically included parts of the contract, but not the whole thing, akin to some superhero actors getting paid a percentage of box office earnings. That said, both of these numbers still marked a considerable sum given the wider context surrounding the role and the movie it was within. Yeah, that was just an $30 million to play Mr. Freeze. That was fucking insane. That was bonkers to read that. But, you know, apparently Robert Downey Jr. may or may not be getting like an $80 million payday for playing Victor Von Doom in Fantastic Four and Doom and Avengers Doomsday, as well as Avengers Secret Wars. So, wouldn't shock me. Wouldn't shock me. I mean, Batman and Robin's overall haul at the box office was just under $250 million on a $125 million budget. The fact like a fourth of that nearly went to Mr. Freeze's payday. I no longer wonder why Arnold Schwarzenegger got top billing in that movie. That does not shock me in the fucking slightest. At all. At all. Anyway. Moving on before we get to the DC stuff, I just kind of want to stay in the realm of ridiculousness, and that is going to include Craven being the worst launch for Sony Pictures since the year 2017. Now, this was buried inside of an LA Times article that I was just like, wait, what? Who said what now? This shit was just too funny not to bring up. Where is the why isn't it showing me my okay, fine. I don't know why it's not showing me. There we go. Sony Pictures, Tony Vincent Chiara talks arms dealer strategy, defends Spider-Man spin-offs. Now let's just go ahead and cut to the chase here. This is a whole big thing about his time at Sony Pictures when he took over and all that. But here's where the real juicy shit comes in. How do you feel about the performance of the film studio during your tenure? Tony Vincent Chiara says, and I quote, "We've had mostly very, very good results. Unfortunately, Kraven the Hunter, that we launched last weekend, this would have been about 2 weeks ago, as of reading this, and my last film launch is probably the worst launch we've had in 7.5 years, so that didn't work out very well, which I still don't understand, because this film is not a bad film. But we've been very successful. We've beat our budgets every year. I've been hearing, even through strikes and COVID and max bonuses several of the years for all the employees, it was a good run, and the film studio was a big part of it." And then the interviewer proceeds to go back to Kraven, going back to Kraven the Hunter, and Sony had Madam Web there, which also underperformed. And he gets a little defensive here. Let's just touch on Madam Web for a moment. Madam Web underperformed in theaters because the press just crucified it. It was not a bad film, and it did great on Netflix. For some reason, the press decided that they didn't want us making these films out of Kraven and Madam Web, and the critics just destroyed them. They also did it with Venom, but the audience loved Venom and made Venom a massive hit. These are not terrible films. They were just destroyed by critics and the press for some reason. Do you think that Spider-Man universe strategy needs to be rethought? I do think we need to rethink it, just because it's snake bitten. If we put another one out, it's going to get destroyed, no matter how good or bad it is. Let me get this straight. So your movies aren't bad, and if your movies, in theory, wouldn't be bad, then the critics shouldn't be destroying them. But the critics are destroying them. And you think that's why the movies failed at the box office. Every one of them besides Venom. If the movies weren't bad, they would have probably garnered more of a profit at the box office from fans who avidly go see these movies. You've had fans show up for DC movies. You had fans show up for Marvel movies. You've had fans show up for X-Men movies when they were still at Fox. You had fans show up for your Sony Spider-Man movies when you were still having Spider-Man in them. So what changed? Well, for starters, number one, when you have stuff like this in your movie, it's probably not going to land well for a bunch of people. Because if a good movie had good scenes in it, you don't get a scene like this. That is a legitimate scene from Kraven the Hunter, where Alessandro Nivola plays Alexei Sytsevich, aka the Rhino. That's not even the worst part. I just clipped out the noise because I just wanted to show you guys, just like, that's just one example of how bad Madam Web, Kraven, Morbius, like, that is the level of effort that went into these films. It was a lot of that. Now, before that, you see his goon in the background, and his goon goes, "All of the guys are dead." You don't even see the guy's mouth move when he says that in the movie. Madam Web had some severe ADR issues Craven had some pretty bad ADR issues. Craven had a crap villain. I don't know how that even happened because, well, when the bar for the Rhino is Paul Giamatti in a robotic rhino suit spewing hammy dialogue, and you still didn't meet that bar, you might have a problem. In Madame Web, when the majority of your villain's dialogue is complete ADR, you might have a problem. When you have Morbius cutting in and out of weird fight sequences and having him show up and meeting the Vulture at the end of the movie, talking about, oh, it's probably because of Spider-Man, you might have a problem. When you have your last Venom movie and you hype up Noel in your marketing as the big bad of the movie, and then he only appears in 3 sequences in the entire movie, the post-credit sequence included, you might have a problem. I think Sony Pictures has a problem making these movies. What is that problem? Well, for starters, they didn't use Spider-Man. That's just the tip of the iceberg. Number 2, these movies weren't particularly well written or well executed for that matter. And they really do fail at the core of this, which is the writing. And when your script fails, more often than not, your movie will fail. And if your movie fails, well, don't put the cart before the horse, Chief. I don't really know what else I can say about that. That just like how do you even respond to that? How do you have such a tone deaf response to just, hey, your movies didn't really work? Oh no, they were good movies. The critics just ate them alive. I'm pretty sure the critics wouldn't be so edible or so hungry if you didn't make bad movies. And bad, I'm not saying that objectively, because I can only speak for myself. Of those 6 Sony Marvel movies, I had fun with 2 of them, and they were Venom movies. And even then, the first Venom movie is probably the best made one of them all. That bar is not high. And it's kind of unfortunate. It's really unfortunate because Sony has a whole freaking catalog of all these characters, and it's like you could see a way to incorporate these characters, not necessarily without Spider-Man, but, come on. Like, I've been saying for a hot minute, like, you could have done, clearly Venom worked. Venom worked on some fundamental level where you didn't exactly need Spider-Man. But when it came to Morbius, when it came to Madame Web, I think is probably like the biggest ball drop for them by far, because that's one character you could have had who could have tied everything together. And no, you just went, oh, let's just make a typical year 2000 sloppy superhero mess in the fucking laziest way possible. You mean to tell me you're going to cast Dakota Johnson and Sydney Sweeney, Isabella Merced, and oh god, what is the actress's name? Oh man. Celeste O'Connor, I think. Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds right. Let's see. Show me the whole fucking cast, god damn you. Yeah, Celeste O'Connor. And I'm just like, dude, you have pretty great leads, and you completely jumble fuck their whole. Like, what? I don't get it. And then you like maim your villain. Ezekiel Sims, played by Tahir Rahim. Adam Scott's doing his best. Emma Roberts is in this as Mary Parker, and it's like, okay, well, we know full well what the fuck she's doing there. I don't know. The rumored story from Madame Web before they fucked that movie sounded a lot more fun than whatever the fuck this movie was. That's for damn sure. But I don't know. Just, finish Beyond the Spider-Verse, do Spider-Man Noir, take a break, or better yet, you know what? Just let fucking Lord and Miller handle it, because clearly whoever the fuck handled these movies did not do a great job. Just a heads up, it's a guy named Avi Arad and his friend Matt Tolmach. But seriously, I think when it comes to doing Spider-Man-less Spider-Man movies, you're probably going to have a hard time doing them without your title character. And the worst part is like Across the Spider-Verse literally gave you an even bigger out to use some of these characters than Into the Spider-Verse did. Like, you literally have a whole fucking multiverse of characters with Spider in their name somehow. You could have done something with Ben Reilly. You could have done something with Kane. You could have done something with Spider-Man 2099. I really don't understand why the fuck this is that hard. But hey, when you're stuck in like a year 2000 mindset of rushing out slop, well, you're probably going to get slop. And that's what we, the audience, were delivered when it came to these movies. Granted, Venom was fun slop. The first Venom movie was fun slop. I'll admit that. It's good for what it is. But again, how high is that bar? Not very high. Not very high in the slightest. Not very high at all. Not very high. So yeah, Tony Vinciquerra giving that interview to the LA Times and just foot and mouth moment. Just, man, that was disastrous. Reading that, I was just flabbergasted. I was like, wow, he firmly believes these movies aren't bad. That is some level of delusion going on there that I'm not kind of, I don't really know how to reply to that. I don't know. I have no idea. I have absolutely no fucking clue what they're going to do now. I would just say that maybe don't make Spider-Man villain movies without Spider-Man in them somehow, some way. Just a thought. I mean, if you really wanted to go and branch out, my humble opinion, I say do Agent Venom next, but whether or not that actually happens, we'll see. I doubt it, but we'll see. I doubt it, but we'll see. Yeah, that would be the thing I would do next. Would definitely like to see Agent Venom. That would be my pitch. I'd be like, you know what? Just have a version of Flash Thompson in there. He's a United States Army veteran, lost his legs in a war, and now you've got someone presenting him with an opportunity to be a soldier again. Who's his hint? Who's his target? Craven. That's what I would do. That's just me, though, because that's what happened in Agent Venom's first story. I think he fought Venom. Avi Arad is the reason that The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is a giant mess of a movie. I agree completely. I agree wholeheartedly. I think Avi Arad is a large reason why Spider-Man has kind of floundered and been slightly mishandled ever since they've gotten together with Marvel Studios, because that whole dynamic of them, a lot of people thought for the longest time that Sony wasn't quite allowed to use Spider-Man, but it turns out they were, and they just deliberately chose not to. And it's like, okay, that's just incredibly ignorant on your part to not include Spider-Man in any way, shape, or form. You didn't even need to cast Tom Holland. You could have had somebody else. You could have had a previous Spider-Man come in. You could have cast a whole new character to play him. You could have done what Warner Brothers is doing with Batman, but no. Instead, you tried to inflate your ego and said, we can do this without Spider-Man, and it bit you in the ass hard. Oh well. Avi Arad, he'll be gone soon. I guarantee you. That dude will be gone from Sony at some point within the next 10 years, give or take. There's no way they're going to keep him on, contractor or otherwise. Like, there's no fucking way that dude stays at Sony for the foreseeable future. There's no way. Not after this fuck-awful mess that he's gotten them into. Besides, Spider-Man 4 starts filming next year anyway. They'll be fine. Hopefully they'll realize, oh, well, you know, maybe we should stay in bed with Marvel Studios. Maybe we should do that. Now this whole notion of, oh, Sony should just sell Spider-Man to Disney. Not going to fucking do that. Spider-Man is their most profitable IP on film. They are not going to sell those rights. Doesn't matter what anybody says. I don't care who the fuck you are. Sony will never sell Spider-Man unless their film division starts to go bankrupt. And even then, it's a big if. It's never going to happen. at least not in the near future. But Marvel's playing the long game. It will pay off for them eventually, but in the midterm, in the current term, they have to do what they can. Which is probably why Spider-Man 4 is more than likely going to take place on Battleworld. That's just my theory, though. Can't say for sure. You're right, Braden. Avi Arad does not understand comic book movies. He understands that characters look cool and that's all that matters when it comes to making films about them, and that's why his films tend to fail. Wow, it's almost like Avi Arad is everything people claim Zack Snyder is. Go fucking figure. Go fucking figure. Antonio Baker says, do you know they're already trying to lie on another stream, about the name, about Superman having problems? You're gonna have to fill me in, dude. I don't know what you're talking about. Do you know that they're already trying to lie on another stream? You know the name about Superman having? I actually don't know what you're referring to. But you can leave it in the chat and maybe I'll address it. But I have no idea what's even going on there. Yes, I agree, Chillmonger. A Battle World movie for Spider-Man is 100% the best move. Oh, the rat? That's not surprising. That's not surprising in the slightest. Of course he's trying to say there's problems with Superman. That dude has to thrive on controversy just to make a quick buck and feed himself every night. So it doesn't shock me at all that he's saying that Superman has problems, because he's a fucking idiot. What's up, my friend? Tyler Calvert, how you doing, man? Avi Arad is 76 years old. So one way or another, he may not be around in 10 years. That's morbid. I like that. That's kind of where I was getting at with that shit. But yeah, look at fucking Rupert Murdoch. How old is he? And he's being shoved out of Fox, for crying out loud. I don't see Avi Arad sticking around Sony much longer for one reason or another. It would honestly be in their best interest to just kind of give him a severance and make him on his way, but we'll see what happens there. Yeah, they just posted on the stream, John Roach channel, and the thumbnail had Superman is already having issues. I mean, look, I can't say I'm surprised. I can't really say I'm surprised. I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked at all that all these scoopers are trying to say that Superman has problems. I mean, people said Batman versus Superman had problems. People said Wonder Woman had problems. People said Aquaman had problems. This is a continuing trend with DC films, and now they're trying to say that Superman has problems. The new Superman movie directed by James Gunn. You mean the guy who finishes his films on time and under budget? All of a sudden he's having problems? The fuck out of here. I can't take these people fucking seriously. I can't. And I've stopped taking them seriously. I've stopped taking people like Daniel RPK seriously. I've stopped taking people like Grace Randolph seriously. And I for damn sure have never taken Jeff Snyder seriously, because that dude is not only a rat, but a classless thief when it comes to breaking stories. I have that on pretty good authority. Homeboy even hit me up on Facebook and said, what, you think I'm a classless thief? I didn't respond to him because it's like, dude, I'm not going to give you the fucking attention that you want. He's such a fucking egotistical little prick. It's not even funny. Like, these people think they have the scoop on this shit, and they just don't. They have no fundamental understanding of how this shit gets made. They think they do, and they don't. And that's the sad part. But here's what I say to fucking Jeff Snyder when it comes to Superman having problems, apparently.
You lying sleaze. You want to rethink that answer?
Just like how Scoopers are saying they're taking too long with putting out a trailer for Fantastic Four. Oh my god, really that's When was the first trailer we got for Deadpool and Wolverine? Super Bowl Sunday. When did that movie come out? July of the same year. These people are so dense. Like, Fantastic Four wrapped filming, I think late November, early December, something like that. Maybe even sooner. I don't know, but they wrapped filming not that long ago. So, and I've been saying, like, look, there's going to be a trailer for Fantastic Four, probably attached to Captain America. And guess what? Captain America Brave New World comes out the week after Super Bowl Sunday. What a fucking novel concept. And on top of that, like, Disney owns ABC. Disney fucking runs the sporting shit. So don't be surprised if you see a trailer for Fantastic Four in front of the Super Bowl. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's definitively going to happen, because I don't know. I don't have that kind of tie to Disney. But it's just, if you look at common practice over the last couple of years, they did it with Multiverse of Madness. They did it with Deadpool and Wolverine. Did they do it in 2023? Like, they might have. Yeah, they probably did it for Ant-Man and Quantumania. I don't remember, but yeah, like, it wouldn't shock me if they did. But it's just been kind of common practice for them to do that. Well, they might have done it for Guardians of the Galaxy, now that I think about it. Yeah, I don't remember. It's been a minute, but let's see. Got Resident Justice in the house. What's up, dude? This is why I don't like Scoopers, because they've been doing this shit since Zach, and they undermined his movies 100%. They do it to DC all the time. They're doing it for the last 10 years. I'm just tired of this media, tired of it. It's like we can't just enjoy what we can't enjoy. I agree completely. Even the movie is not good. Let me enjoy DC content. That's all I want to do, is enjoy DC. Let's see. The full trailer should come out the week before the Super Bowl, then create a 30-second cut of the big game. See, that's the thing. It's going to be like either week of Super Bowl or on Super Bowl Sunday is when we'll see it. Like, again, like just like they did it with Deadpool and Wolverine. I feel like that Marvel Studios is fairly confident in Fantastic Four, and they're holding off on showing it off because number one, they've got trailers for Thunderbolts. Captain America is literally less than 2 months away now, because we're heading into January, and then it's out the second week of February. So literally like a month and a half away from Captain America. The next movie on their docket is Fantastic Four after Thunderbolts. So it wouldn't shock me in the slightest to see a trailer for Fantastic Four either sometime towards the end of January, if not on Super Bowl Sunday. That's my guess. I'm not saying that definitively, again, because I have no ties to Disney. I don't have that rapport with them. But yeah, it would not shock me in the fucking slightest to see a Fantastic Four trailer in front of Super Bowl Sunday. Kind of funny, you said I worship on the altar of God. I never did it for Zach nor Air, and especially for Gunn. Why should I start now? Buddy, number one, take a joke. Number two, you're always defending James Gunn. Again, learn to take a joke. Have you watched What If Season 3 yet? So far, people are bitching about it because of the Howard Duck and Darcy episode. Okay, so I've seen pictures of this, but I have not watched the episode myself. That's for sure. I've seen like the first 2 episodes of What If. I'm not caught up. I am not current on What If. F4 and Superman's not going to be at the Super Bowl. They just released a massive teaser trailer. They are not going to show that off. They're not going to show off anything else for that. Matter of fact, I would guarantee you they're probably going to show something. The big trailer is probably going to be at CinemaCon in late April. Oh, there's some back and forth going on in my chat right now. I'm this is kind of funny. This is actually kind of funny, but seriously, just keep it civil in the chat. I don't care if you guys fucking go at each other. Just keep it civil. Anyway, yeah, I mean, is that true? Matt Reeves dealing with some people, need to leave him alone. I don't need. Okay. If Matt Reeves is dealing with something personal, this is news to me. But I know nothing of that. What I do know is that Creature Commandos got renewed for a second season. This is coming off the 5th episode, which is titled The Iron Pot, which I honestly, in my humble opinion, is probably the weakest episode. I don't even mean that as a slight. It's like, I thought the episode was fine. I didn't really like it. It didn't really move a needle for me. It had Clayface in it, and that's cool. But other than that, it really doesn't do much outside of just show you Frankenstein's backstory. And honestly, he's the one where I was just like, okay, that's cool. But yeah, other than that, this episode really didn't do much for me. It was, well done. Action was nice. Animation's nice. But, it got renewed for a second season. So that's cool. I think it's a good show. I think, overall, season 1 was pretty effing cool. I really do like season 1 overall. I just think that episode 1 and episode 5 kind of like... Episode 1 is very, by the books setup. And then episode 5 is, I wouldn't call it filler, but it's definitely one where it's just like, oh, okay, we're just kind of moving things along here. And then the next 2 episodes, you really do get a lot to chew on. I will say that. I will say the next 2 episodes, you for sure get a lot to chew on. And yeah, it doesn't shock me that it was renewed for a second season. I've seen some people try and say that this show sucks and nobody's watching it. Just like, well, if that were the case, it wouldn't be critically acclaimed. And clearly, if people weren't watching it, it wouldn't be getting a season 2. So it's getting a second season. That's all I got to say. So people are clearly watching the show. That's for damn sure. Jeff Snyder's a crybaby bitch who never shuts up. For God's sake, he posted a picture of him without a shirt because he wanted some girls. That was pretty cringy. I had someone send me that. That was fairly cringy. RJ says a lot of people reporting and hinting that it's a family issue. I'm not saying jack shit. I don't want to say anything either way if it's true, and it's very sad. That would be really unfortunate if it was a family issue, and I wish Matt Reeves nothing but the best. I hope it isn't a family issue. We'll see what happens. But we will talk about the Batman here fairly shortly. Let's see. He didn't do well for me either. That was my least favorite episode, probably since the second one. I think the second one is fine, but it's definitely, it's got some choices in it that I was just like, nope, not a fan of that. Not a fan of the bride fucking Victor Frankenstein on the chair she was made on. That was a little too much for me. People were so wrong about the Clayface theory and Creature Commandos with Clayface being the princess. Oh, I know. I saw that and I was just laughing the entire time. Like people were asking me, hey, is the princess Clayface? And I would be like, no. Be like, are you sure? I'd be like, well, I watched all 7 episodes. You can choose to believe me or not. Take your pick. Daryl, people are just guessing. That's all when it comes to Clayface. Okay, so all right, let's move into it. All right, let's move into the Clayface stuff because there is something here. James Gunn mentioned something about Clayface recently, and it's going to lead into a larger conversation that I would like to have. All right, so a fan asked James Gunn, is Clayface officially the 3rd DC Universe film? Why didn't you choose a more prominent character first, like Flash or Wonder Woman? And James Gunn responded, because of the #1 rule here at DC. No movie will be greenlit before the script is ready, and Flanagan's script was ready. And as for The Flash, we're holding a beat on development. Okay, so this to me, #1, I am not shocked by this at all. Mike Flanagan had mentioned that he wanted to do a Clayface movie. He was writing a Clayface movie, may have hinted at it. And the fact that his script was done and good means it was going to get greenlit. James Gunn greenlit it based on that notion. So they're probably going to find a director very soon, like they did with Supergirl. And this movie will likely get made and meet its release date, which is cool. September 11th, 2026. It's actually my late grandfather's birthday. So it's also a Friday. I do think that knowing that James Gunn has seen the Marvel machine and how that operates, you kind of need to be conservative with your budgets. And I feel like Clayface is a project in which you don't necessarily need a massive $150, $200 million budget to make a single movie about Clayface about. I think you can get away with something less than $100 million and be fine. And given that Matt Reeves was able to conceive an entire series surrounding the Penguin, well, wouldn't shock me in the slightest if a Clayface movie was made for less than, if or not around $50 million, something like that. Whether or not this will be the Clayface that was shown in Creature Commandos, I can't say for sure. I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Where it lands on the timeline, would it be after Creature? Oh, damn! Wow, that was embarrassing. I couldn't hit mute fast enough. Whether or not this is that same Clayface, I can't say for certainty. It'd be nice if it was, but I'd be, God, what was I going to say? Brain fart. Okay. They have not, okay, so I'll just say this. They did not clarify which Clayface was in Creature Commandos. They did not clarify if it was Basil Karlo or Matt Hagen, and they have not clarified which Clayface is in the movie. So it's entirely up to interpretation up to this point until more information gets revealed for that. What is everyone in the chat saying? You guys are talking about Clayface and Gorilla Grodd and all this shit. What the fuck? Okay, Daryl, people are just guessing when it comes to Clayface. I'm still like, do you know she's being controlled by Grodd, who has mind control powers? That's a great theory. I'll give you that. Do you think they'll do the Penguin season 2 since we have to wait for the Batman, or will they just greenlight a Catwoman series that will lead up to the Batman Part 2? I think that Matt Reeves is going to put the finishing touches on the Batman Part 2 script, and they will try their damnedest to meet that production start date of late 2025. It will film into 2026 and then spend the rest of 2026 in post, and then hopefully meet its 2027 release date. That's my guess, but I'll talk a little bit more on that later. I think we'll get a Flash movie, but not for a long time. Okay, so to touch on the other part of what James Gunn was talking about here, I don't know what they're going to do with the Flash. Just in the same vein, I don't know what they're going to do with Aquaman, because number one, the Flash TV show ended in 2023. The Flash movie came out in 2023. So you're kind of in a really tough position with the Flash. You can't do anything with him. You can't do another TV show because people are just going to compare it to the original show with Grant Gustin. And you can't do a movie because it's way too soon. And I think they don't want people to see a Flash film that quickly after the first Flash film. So considering Dean Lorey and James Gunn said that that Wally West was somewhere littered in there amongst the dead heroes, I'm kind of inclined to believe that maybe the Flash in the DCU just might be Wally West. And I'm fine with that, if I'm being brutally honest. Like James Gunn mentioned, he's a fan of legacy characters. He likes the Justice League Unlimited. I would not mind at all seeing Wally be the Flash. Like, it wouldn't shock me if Wally was the one who was the Flash in the slightest. Nobody's watching Crowd. You mean nobody's watching Skeleton Crew because the show has been a global sensation now? I would have never thought it was going to be the case. I feel like people are watching Skeleton Crew because I see everyone talking about it on Threads. And people are watching the show overseas. Jeffrey says it's also on my birthday. I'm assuming you mean Clayface is probably on your birthday. Antonio says that dude Josh from Dinner Geek, whatever the hell it is, you've seen his thumbnail when he has his big old head. I have not seen his thumbnail because I just do not I don't take that guy very seriously. Braden says there are two sides of the fan base here. James Gunn fanboys who hate everything Zack Snyder did, and they're Snyder fans that hate everything James Gunn also, and they want DC to sell to Netflix. Oh, I can assure you they're never going to sell to Netflix. Yeah, okay, so Jeffrey said his birthday is September 11th. That's what I figured. Travis, could the film part 2 and part 3 back to back? I will touch on that when we get to the Batman. Not all people that like Zack Snyder DC movies are like that. Just some of them are like that. Faux show. Flash and Aquaman could take another 3 years. Honestly, I don't see any development on Flash or Aquaman. That's why they're not at all part of the slate. So that wouldn't shock me in the slightest. RJ says it'll probably be Wally West, and he will appear in other movies first before getting his own movie, kind of like the Hulk in the MCU, minus the rights issues. I think if the Teen Titans movie is a thing that is happening, that would be the place where you would start with Wally West. I think the Teen Titans movie is probably going to be a combination of older legacy characters who have evolved past the teenage stage, and they're kind of shepherding younger heroes to be Teen Titans. I think that Dick Grayson is already going to be Nightwing, and he's going to be the leader of the Titans. I think Starfire's for sure probably going to be there, probably maybe his love interest. Raven, Beast Boy, and Cyborg more than likely might have a part to play, but then I also think that we will see other members of the Titans who were original founding members, but they're young adults now. I think we could see Wally West, Gar, and Wonder Girl. I think we could absolutely see those characters pop up in some fashion or another, but that's just me. One is going to have the family with him. The other one has just Alfred and Catwoman. It's not the same if people cannot see the difference between the Bat family and Batman and Catwoman. Oh, right. Wally tends to be the more interesting character anyway, IMO at least. I think Wally's just the one that got to a generation of people like mine. You know, we grew up on the Justice League Unlimited show, and that had Wally West as the Flash. Josh is a joke and Jeff is a clown. I mean, I've never really interacted with Josh. I mean, by the time I was getting ready to leave Twitter, I had started to see a little bit more of Josh and, you know, James Gunn kind of clowning him on Twitter. So there was that. I'm in the middle. I love Zach and DC movies. I also like James Gunn's DC and Marvel movies, but I'm not a James Gunn kiss ass. I will be for real. I did not like Adam Warlock. Sounds like we're on the same page. Well, Christian Harloff made it seem like nobody's watching it. I shouldn't be taking his word for the golden truth. Are you talking about Skeleton Crew, or are you talking about Creature Commandos? Because I don't know what you're referring to, Antonio. It's just so frustrating. The algorithm is just forcing people who has less than 1,000 views in my recommendations when I don't even know these people. Well, fair enough, I guess. But as far as Clayface goes, I'm not shocked that that's the next film on the docket following Supergirl to get made. And then as for his Flash comment, again, I think DC as a whole, DC Studios is kind of just at a rock and a hard place of what to do with the Flash, as well as Aquaman. I don't see development on either of those two things happening anytime soon. And if they do, as RJ said, the Flash will likely just be a supporting character in something before he gets a solo project. That's just my guess. All right. Okay. All right. Let's get into it. First and foremost, I saw this earlier this morning. It's Andy Muschietti saying the Brave and Bold is not happening for a little while, and he might shoot something smaller before that. Okay. So this, I was like, well, that sucks. Because I was really hoping that Batman Brave and the Bold was a lot farther along than we figured, but that clearly is not the case. And, well, it just sucks. I like Andy Muschietti. I want him to make the Batman movie. I want him to make Batman Brave and the Bold. It's probably my most anticipated project on that slate. But the fact that he is going to maybe do something else before the Batman, I'm just like, all right, fine. I kind of just have to bite my tongue on that one and just wait it out. So it sucks, but it is what it is. I mean, I would really like to see a Batman Damian Wayne dynamic happen in the DCU. That'd be really fucking cool. I wish it was happening sooner rather than later. Again, that is my most anticipated project on that entire slate, because I love Batman, I love Robin, I love Damian Wayne, and I want to see the Bat family, and I want to see this fully realized. I want this to happen. The fact that it isn't happening, and it's kind of just not necessarily on the back burner, but it's just like, we're tinkering with the script. Okay. We don't even know who's writing this script, if anyone at all. But, you know, it is what it is. I'll take what I can get. I'll watch Andy Muschietti's next movie, whatever it is, even if it's just something smaller. You've mentioned something about being sci-fi, I think. So, unfortunately, that's not the only Batman movie that got delayed. That's right. Batman Part 2 got delayed to October 1st of 2027. This is very, very disappointing. All right. Okay. The Batman sequel moves to 2027. It's Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu, and Tom Cruise takes its fall 2026 date. Alejandro Gonzalez Inarritu and Tom Cruise are flying into the fall 2026 movie season. Their untitled feature will arrive on October 2nd, 2026. Warner Brothers announced Friday. That slides into the date previously occupied by Matt Reeves' The Batman sequel, which is currently untitled. It was previously called The Batman Part 2. The DC Studios film is expected to go into production in the third quarter of 2025. It is now set for October 1st, 2027. The Batman sequel has spotted multiple release dates since it was announced in 2022, with methodical Reeves working to perfect the script. Quote, Matt is committed to making the best film he possibly can, and no one can accurately guess exactly how long a script will take to write. DC Studios co-chief James Gunn wrote on Threads on Friday. Once there is a finished script, there is around 2 years for pre-production, shooting, and post-production on big films. Meanwhile, the Batman star Robert Pattinson and filmmaker Bong Joon-ho's upcoming Mickey 17 swapped its release date with director Ryan Coogler and star Michael B. Jordan's Sinners. Mickey 17 now opens March 7th, and Sinners bows on April 18th. This goes on to talk about the whole Cruise and Inarritu movie. And then there's also why the decision to switch Mickey 17 and Sinners is due to delays in finishing Sinners because of Coogler's desire to use film to shoot the movie and the scarcity of labs that can assist in production and post-production work, according to insiders. All right. Well,
God damn it!
God damn it. Look, I want this movie to happen. I do. And I firmly believe it will happen. I just think it sucks that it's getting delayed after delayed after delayed because Matt Reeves is tinkering with that script as much as he can, whenever he can. But I also think that, and again, this is just my thought. I can't say for sure. And I don't even think I've gotten an answer because I reached out to James Gunn about this and I still have not gotten a response. So my theory is that the reason why this film keeps getting delayed, yes, Matt Reeves is writing the script. Why is he continuing to write the script? Well, first of all, in 2023, immediately after it was announced, strikes happened, and for 6 months he couldn't write the damn thing. And then things didn't pick up until November of 24, right? Or 23, November of 2023. So then he spends all this year, and him and James Gunn probably sat down. And we also know that Matt Reeves is basically shepherding a lot of Batman stuff. I mean, the Dynamic Duo movie from Swaybox is in 2028. The Clayface movie he is helping produce. He produced the Penguin show that came out this year. If I were a guessing man, I think Matt Reeves initially had an idea for what Batman Part 2 was going to be. And then when DC Studios became involved and took over shepherding that and help him shepherd that project and being the DC studio that it is of all DC things live action, regardless of whether or not it was part of the DCU or not, I think him and Matt Reeves, by him, I think James Gunn and Matt Reeves probably sat down and mapped out some stuff about who was going to use which villains where, and if there was any overlap whatsoever. And there were rumors of Clayface appearing in Batman Part 2, and now that Clayface is getting a DCU movie, I think that once that happened, maybe using Clayface in Batman Part 2 might have been altered. I can't say for sure because I just don't know. I have not gotten an official response from James Gunn about this, so I can't say for sure about any of it. But it wouldn't surprise me if that, on the very least, they wouldn't want any kind of overlap between villains. That's my guess. Now, does it suck? Yes. But I think it's also important to remember that the sequel was announced in 2022. It got its date initially for 25, October of 25. It was supposed to open the same year as Superman. Then it got delayed again due to the strikes to 2026. And now it's getting delayed again to October 27 because Reeves is still not done writing the story. He's still not done writing the script. So even though it still has a date, I think that's a courtesy. That's my guess. It is nothing more than a courtesy. Because I do firmly believe that DC Studios has probably got the rough edges of what this Batman world is going to look like for the sequel. I mean, obviously, if your suit's going to look the same, or if there's going to be some touch-ups to it, you can work on that. If the car is going to be the same, not a whole lot there, right? If Greg Fraser's going to be available, not a problem either. Because if the movie starts shooting in third quarter of 25 and Dune Part 2 films in early 26, or sorry, Dune Part 3, Messiah, if that films in early 2026, that would literally line up Greg Fraser's schedule as far as director of photography. Bottom line is, Matt Reeves notoriously takes his time to write scripts. I have talked about this before. He did it on the first movie. It doesn't shock me that he's doing it on the second movie, but it certainly doesn't help that A, strikes happened, B, the studio went through kind of a restructuring and DC got its own studio, DC Studios. So now everything DC is now overseen by James Gunn and Peter Safran. So there was that went into it. And again, as I just mentioned, they're probably trying to figure out, if not, they've already hashed out who shows up where and who can use what villain when. I don't necessarily think there are any no, you can't use this villain, but there's more of hey, we're going to use this villain here. Do you have someone else in mind, or could you possibly use someone else in mind? I don't think there's a, hey, you can't use this villain, because that's the thing that fucking plagued Warner Brothers and DC for the longest time, when all the shit wasn't even siloed under DC Studios. Was this these limits on these characters that they have all the fucking rights to. But I do think that they want to avoid overlap. That's my guess, but I can't say for sure. It just sucks. It just really sucks, because I really want to see the Batman Part 2. The Penguin was amazing. The first movie's amazing. It's one of my favorite comic book films ever made. And I just want to see the Batman Part 2, damn it! But if the film starts filming next year, great. And even then, Matt Reeves has said recently that he's fine-tuning and almost done with the script anyway. So I'd have to imagine that thing isn't too far off from being finished. And if it is, then we'll probably be seeing, hopefully, some castings for that movie happening either early next year, if not spring of next year. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We shall see. But that's my guess. That's kind of where I'm at with it. It just sucks. I want to see the Batman Part 2. It sucks it got delayed again. It was very unfortunate news this morning, especially on the anniversary of that Batcat trailer that debuted in 2021. I really want to watch the Batman Part 2. But, it is what it is. It is what it is. I think it's just, hey, we don't want to use the same villains as your film, so let's talk about what villains you want to use and what villains we want to use. Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think that's exactly why there is such a delay on this stuff, because they want to try and get all their ducks in a row and make sure, the toys in the chest aren't being pulled in two different ways. That's my guess. My buddy Christopher Evans has theories. I don't doubt it, dude. I don't doubt that one bit. I'm sure you guys will talk about that all on the DC Unlimited show when you guys do your next episode. I wouldn't doubt that one bit at all. But this is where I usually like to put a pin in it. About an hour in. Another Friday fill in the can. But, I just want to say thanks for everyone who stopped in. Thank you, Braden. Thank you, Antonio. Thanks, Chris, for stopping in. Thanks, Chillmonger. Thank you, Donovan. Thank you, RJ. Travis, I saw your name pop up there. Jeffrey, Daryl, Little Movie Perp, I know you popped in too. Buster Barnes popped in, and Tyler Calvert popped in for a little bit too. Appreciate you guys. Ronan, saw you pop up earlier. Nerd Coast Nostra as well. Thanks everyone. Do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button. Really appreciate it. Check out my stuff on Multiverse of Color. We'll have the 6th episode of Creature Commandos next week. Review will go up. And then the review for... Oh, Daryl, thank you. I saw you pop up as well. Oh, you know what? Okay. Matt Reeves has said time and time again his Batman is not part of the DCU. I will just say you will see something sooner rather than later that will be very indicative of that. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, it's. I had a feeling that once this news broke, people were gonna be like, "Oh, he's gonna forge into the DC universe." No, it's not. I can confidently tell you that is not the case. But yeah, check out my stuff on Multiverse of Color. Check out the Creature Commandos podcast I do with my buddy Andy as well as my friend Mike. We do that every week. We've been going over episodes of Creature Commandos. Episode 6 drops next Thursday, and then the finale the week after that. And you, like I mentioned, check that out. You can check out the Eternal Night podcast. Me and my buddy Craig did an episode about the Superman trailer. Talked all about that. Although I don't doubt that we'll be back in the cave soon to talk about this stuff, I'm sure, in more detail. But yeah, do me that favor. Hit that like and subscribe button. Much love, guys. Take care. Happy Friday. Hope you guys spend your New Year's and Christmas with loved ones. And yeah, had a good time. Much love. Take care.